What is up? I'm back with another sweet video for you. And for those of you that are coming from, let's say California or even Southern California where I'm from, this is even more applicable to you. So what I'm going to be talking about today are the 4 seasons of Denver, Colorado, and what to expect with each of them. Now, before I get into each of the 4 seasons, there are some general takes here with what it's like to just live in Denver, sort of the more natural occurring processes that are outside of just the regular seasons. So for example, these bigger concerns like tornadoes happen every once in a while, where you get these tornado warnings coming from the east, and that would be coming from Kansas, the Midwest, and the Plains, so it makes sense that it would come from there. Although it hasn't really happened, especially since I've been here, so it's not too much of a concern. Also, earthquakes can happen here, but they're pretty small and not too frequent either. But I'd say the most common of natural disasters that happen here is probably the wildfires. With the high winds and the potentially dry summers as well, that combination is the spark for any sort of wildfire to happen during the summer or even early fall. No pun intended on the spark part. And of course, these wildfires can be man-made as opposed to naturally occurring with down power lines and all that good stuff. All I gotta say about that is mainly the wind speeds can pick up to like 40 to 50 miles per hour coming from the east, and that can really pick up the speed of the wildfires. So without further ado, let's get into the bulk of the video, the 4 seasons and what to expect here in Denver. I'm really excited to get that to you, but before we start, I want to make sure that you express any sort of concerns or even explain what your favorite season is wherever you're from. So write it in the comments below, let me know what you think, and while that happens and while you write your comments, let's get into the seasons. Going through the video per season, I'm going to be talking about the average lows, the average highs as far as temperature goes in Fahrenheit, also the precipitation, what it's like, average precipitation for the season, any sort of warnings, and also my general opinion of the season as well. Let's get into it. Let's start with spring first. And for clarification here, the spring months that I'm considering are March, April, and May. And you are going to be seeing some big differences between March, April, and May as far as temperatures go. You know, for March, you're going to be seeing an average low of about 32 degrees, which is about freezing, and an average high of about 50 degrees. And then going on to May, you have about an average temperature, an average low temperature of about 45 degrees, but an average high of about 70-ish degrees. And during that time, the average precipitation is about 2.2 inches per month. And based on the feel of the season, this is when the summertime starts to pick up and ski resorts close down, but people are slowly coming back to the city and enjoying the festivals and flowers blooming. The birds are flying back to Colorado, the flowers are blooming, the trees are blooming, and the mud season is here. So some hiking trails are closed during the mud season because they just want to maintain that integrity during the, summer months when it actually gets a little bit better for hiking. But with all the rain and the frost and the ice and all that good stuff, it's probably just not a good idea to do too much hiking. It really does depend on where you go and what is open during those March, April, and May months. And of course, this also applies to mountain biking. Make sure that you're well prepared for that, or at least prepared to get dirty. Also, allergies start to pick up around that May when you have the blooming flowers, the trees, and all that good stuff. But along with that, the farmers markets are blooming as well. Farmers markets are usually the sign for me that springtime is happening, and these farmers markets usually open around mid-April to mid-May, and summer is just right around the corner and gets me really pumped up for the season. And of course, with spring here, it melts away the seasonal depression that a lot of people have during that time. And speaking of melting, let's get into the summer season. And so the summer months that I'm considering are June, July, and August. And we have an average low of about mid-50s and an average high of about the mid-80s. So it's very pleasant during the summertime. And what's cool about these summer months is that you are not losing all of that precipitation. You have about 1.9 inches per month precipitation, and that usually comes in the form of afternoon rains happening here in the Denver area. And during the summertime, you got camping, beer festivals, hiking, mountain biking. It's honestly really hard to not like summertime here in Colorado. And Denverites truly celebrate the summertime. It's almost like you don't see the population during winter and some of spring, and then all of a sudden it just bursts with energy with all these people going out on walks, just having fun out there. And that's especially because the average temperature highs like during the day is about like the mid-80s, so it's not too uncomfortable, which makes the mornings actually really comfortable when you want to just go out for a nice brisk walk. And me coming from San Diego, California, I definitely enjoy the summertime, mainly because my wardrobe definitely reflects that. Personally, I I love the summertime, especially coming from San Diego, where I can wear my short sleeve shirts, my button-ups, shorts, and flip-flops, and I don't have to check the weather app every single day. So summertime can really have those really hot days. It can get over 100 degrees Fahrenheit some of these days, but it doesn't really happen that often though. And with all the sun going around, make sure you protect yourself from the sun. I mean, we are in the Mile High City, so you are a little bit closer to the sun. Grab some shades, grab a hat, sunscreen for sure, and just be well prepared for it. With you being so much closer to the sun, the atmosphere is thinner so that the UV index, like the ultraviolet index, it is much higher here in Denver, so you are more prone to sunburns, which could lead to skin cancer. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, wildfires can be a concern here. It really does depend on how the previous winter and spring was, with how wet it was and all that good stuff. So with this previous year, it was actually not too dry. It was pretty heavy snows during January, February, and we've been getting some regular rain during the summertime afternoons. Right now, the wildfires are not too crazy, but it still can happen. So basically, for 2023, the threat of wildfires is not that high compared to the previous years that I've been here. Wildfires can even happen during the fall, which is a great transition for my next season, fall. And to be fully transparent and clear here, the 3 months that I'm considering fall is September, October, and November. And in preparation for winter, you can see the temperatures drop on average from September, October, going into November. So with September, you have the average lows of about mid-40s to mid-70s. Then you have October being mid-30s, going up to the mid-60s. And in November, you have about the mid-20s, going all the way up to the 50s and maybe 60s some days. During the fall months, you actually have a lower precipitation. It's about 1.2 inches per month compared to back in summer where you have 1.9-ish. And to those who love fall, myself included, make sure you enjoy it because it feels like it's only here for like 4 weeks out of the year. And that usually happens in October, maybe like mid-October to early November. And that's when the leaves start changing. And I have a really cool recommendation for you if you want to go see the changing leaves. Go check out the Panorama Point Trail in the fall, and that's over in the Golden State Park, and it is awesome seeing all the leaves change with the birch and aspen trees amongst the sea of evergreen trees. It's almost like little patches of yellow in that mountain of green trees. It's amazing. And I will say with a warning here that a lot of people feel the same and they go check out those trees as well. So if you want to go check it out, make sure you get there early because there will be a lot of traffic. As we get into October, there's obviously Halloween, and with Halloween, you can have it snow during that time. And so with a colder Halloween, I would recommend looking for a warmer costume. So I would say go with a Darth Vader or Chewbacca versus a Princess Leia or Han Solo costume. And this is the season that I usually bust out the lotion and the chapstick. It gets a lot more dry during the season, especially when it gets into winter. And I have the lotion and chapstick on lock, and that usually comes with my Costco runs. And finally, going into the winter season, we have December, January, and February, and this is where the bulk of the snow happens, obviously. And so it doesn't vary much in terms of temperature. So between Denver and February, you actually have average lows of about 15 degrees and average highs of about 45 degrees, but it can vary in between those two ranges of temperatures. And during this time, the average precipitation is about 0.8 inches per month, so not too much to be honest. So winters are generally mild here in the wintertime here in Denver, Colorado. For those people that are not very familiar with winter, I would say that you don't need to worry about it being on the roads for very long because it probably stays about 2 to 3 days on the roads and then they completely melt because the sun melts it pretty quick here. During the winter time, there's not too many festivals or events going on. They're few and far between. And I believe it's not necessarily because it's just so cold out, but I think a lot of people are moving over to the mountains to do their winter sports. Skiing, snowboarding, snowmobiling, ice skating, whatever it might. Just enjoying the snow out in the mountains. And I've mentioned a couple of times in my previous videos that you really have to prepare for driving in the winter time. So that can look like getting an all-wheel drive car, a four-wheel drive car, a front-wheel drive, but make sure you have those winter tires in preparation for the snow and ice on the roads. And speaking of driving in the winter, make sure you do not drive with frost on the windshield. Just warm up the car, turn on the heater, blast it, let the engine run, scrape off that ice. There's these little tools that I've never seen before back in San Diego, but it has a brush on one side and a scraper on the other side, and it's great to have in the back or the trunk of your car just for any preparation of ice or snow that happens to be on your car. And that is also partly why attached garages are probably the most sought after thing for houses, at least for a lot of people. Because if you have it in a garage, I mean, it's good to go. There's no snow or ice on it, and you don't have to worry about waking up 30 minutes early just to warm up the car. So get the snow and the ice off of your car for the safety of yourself and also for the safety of others. And just to forewarn you, last year, like during the last winter time, I think it was like 2022 to 2023 season, there were a couple of days that had a -10-degree weather and then had -20 wind chill along with that. So we were staying indoors. It was insane to me that it could get that cold. Again, it doesn't happen very often, kind of like the 100-degree weather days in the summertime. It's just something to be prepared for, and usually I'm just indoors anyways, and we're prepared well ahead of time with a Costco run beforehand, and you can set up movies, hot chocolate, all that good stuff, and just hunker down. The majority of the time though, I have a hoodie, a beanie, maybe even a scarf, some gloves, and some warm shoes just to prepare for the snow when I have to go outside. It's really not that bad, but I kind of like playing dress up though. All in all, I enjoy winter for the most part, and my dog loves it as well. Usually when we play fetch or frisbee or something, he's like hot. He's panting so much, but in the snow, he's able to just chill out, lay down, and he cools down very quick, and he's able to keep going without overheating. I will say with the change of seasons, especially coming from San Diego where it's like 60 to 80 degrees year round, it really makes me appreciate all of the seasons a lot more, and it makes time feel a little bit slower and have that slower pace of life because you're paying attention to everything and the weather and the climate as the days go on. And usually by the 3rd month of that season, I get tired of it, but that's perfect because that's usually when the season changes. So when I get tired of winter, it changes to summer. And when I get tired of summer, it changes back to winter. So yeah, the change in seasons really gives me a different perspective on life. It gives me different outfits to wear. And also it makes me excited for the different kinds of festivals that happen year round. So thank you so much. I truly appreciate your time and attention. And if there was anything that I was missing for the seasons, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, let me know in the comments below, or if I'm just totally wrong on something, just let me know. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.